So just taking a look at the returns we've seen in Bitcoin over the last couple of years versus the equity markets that Dom just pointed out. James, I know one of the things you are saying here in your note that long-term investors should buy all of these dips as part of their portfolio and just never look at them again.
Yeah, Bitcoin is not a penny stock. It's not something you buy one day and sell the next day for little gains. You have to be a long-term believer that cryptocurrencies solve huge problems that paper currencies have. Cryptocurrencies will replace some or all of paper currencies in the long run. So people are always saying, oh, am I too late to get into this? No, this dip now gives the opportunity to see massive, enormous gains.
Are you investing in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies?
I've been buying on the way down, and I'll buy on the way up. So, what's going to happen is more regulation will happen, and that's a good thing, because then the masses will trust that the government's involved, they will possibly be protected, and institutions, which have not yet been exposed to this really, maybe 0.25% of institutions have exposure to Bitcoin, they'll finally start getting in, and this will be a valid investment class.
Yeah.
Regulations. This is part of the reason we're seeing Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies shellacked in the last couple of days. Crackdowns in China, South Korea. How do you regulate the cryptocurrency market?
It's a fair question. South Korea has hinted that it might want to take on the exchanges themselves. Since at least one person in the South Korean government recanted that idea. I would agree with James that regulation in the end is a good thing for these markets. We saw it happen in Japan in 2017. That was a big boost to the market. Australia as well sort of acknowledged that this is a thing that we want to be a part of. But I think we do need to be careful that the government ain't going to save you right now. Maybe 20 years from now, there'll be some sort of mechanism, but there's no safety net in this whatsoever. So if we want to think that this is a market that we understand, and there's a rubric of CNBC, and there's futures, and there's prices. It's all just sort of showmanship at this point.
James, I see an inherent contradiction, I think, in what you're saying. A couple months ago, you said Bitcoin can make it to $1 million per Bitcoin by 2020 easily. At the same time, you say regulation is good for Bitcoin because it's going to increase adoption. People will feel more comfortable with it. Well, if it's that volatile that it's going to rise 100x in 2 years, Visa's not going to accept it. It's not going to be replacing traditional currencies anytime soon. We just heard from the Visa CEO exactly why that's not going to happen. At the same time, regulation is creating the major downward pressure on cryptocurrencies. How can both things be true?
I don't think regulation will create downward pressure if it allows the 300 million people in the U.S. who don't own Bitcoin to suddenly say, oh, this is viable for I need exposure to this asset class. So I think instead what you're going to see is everybody out there who says, are Bitcoins legal, illegal, what's going on? They're going to suddenly see, oh, okay, here's a regulated exchange where I can buy it. Suddenly you're going to see massive exposure to it, or massive amounts of people buying it, institutions, mutual funds, everybody.
All right, I'm going to put your mic on there for you. All right.
Nice,
I'm trying to help my co-guest here. But I would take some exception to what James is saying. If you wanted to sell your entire cryptocurrency portfolio today, how much of it could you get out?
You could get out probably 50 to 100 million a day. I mean, the volume goes up every day. I mean, there's more volume on Bitcoin than on most stocks on the New York Stock Exchange. Right. So I don't see liquidity is not an issue. And Dominic was saying earlier, institutions might have problems. Institutions aren't yet in Bitcoin, but they will be. Every single institution will eventually get into Bitcoin. That's going to drive massive upward pressure into Bitcoins. There's going to be Bitcoin ETFs. There's going to be more Bitcoin futures. There's going to be derivatives on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. We are in inning 0 of this asset class. It's up from 1,000 to 10,000 in the past year. All the little speculators who thought they could flip it in the past month, okay, the air has come out of that. But this is still just the beginning.
Well, it's funny you say inning 0 because some argue we haven't yet decided what the rules of the game are going to be, right? Or where the baselines are. So why would you not wait until those are drawn?
Yeah,
at least out of some country.
You're right. Some people will. Like South Korea, there's all these rumors South Korea is going to regulate, and yet we also don't even know what those regulations might be. So we might even be below inning zero, but we do need some guidelines on regulations, how the U.S. feels about it. No one's making it illegal, just like no one made the internet illegal. This is a global phenomenon.
Where are you on Ripple and Ethereum? When you say Bitcoin, are you using it generically, or you mean that specific trade?
I think Bitcoin and Ethereum and a few other cryptocurrencies are the main currencies out there right now. You see a couple $100 billion already invested in them. That's way beyond anything beyond the fad level. Like, this is a real investment class that's smart.
But some of these other so-called joke cryptos, you would not touch.
98% of cryptocurrencies are scams or frauds. So you got to stick to the legitimate ones.
That's encouraging. Yeah.
No, but that's what's scary, and that's why regulations are needed. We need to help the 300 million people in the U.S. who'd like to get involved but don't know where to start.